The 2024 remake of The Crow has made waves, but for many, it's a story that's all too familiar. The movie, starring Bill Skarsgård as Eric Draven, was meant to breathe new life into a beloved cult classic. However, the film's disastrous box office reception and scathing reviews have left fans wondering if the iconic 1994 film, immortalized by the tragic death of Brandon Lee, is too difficult to reboot. Surprisingly, this 2024 version isn't the franchise's first resurrection. Far from it, in fact. Since the original The Crow hit theaters in 1994, there have been multiple attempts to revive or reinterpret the story, including sequels, reboots, and even a television series. What's more, the history of The Crow's revivals reveals just how challenging it is to successfully reboot a film tied to a tragedy like Lee's untimely death during production. Let's take a closer look at the often overlooked efforts that have tried, and sometimes failed, to extend the Crow franchise into new territory. The Crow, Stairway to Heaven, a TV revival with surprising depth. While the franchise's film sequels are often remembered for their lackluster reception, The Crow, Stairway to Heaven, a 1998 TV series, represents one of the more interesting, and at times successful, remakes in the franchise's history. The show took Eric Draven's story and expanded it into a longer narrative that would last for one season, totaling 22 episodes. Starring Mark Dacascos as Eric, the series began with the familiar premise of Draven's tragic death and return for vengeance. But unlike the 1994 movie, Stairway to Heaven delved into more supernatural themes, including reincarnation, the afterlife, and moral dilemmas surrounding revenge. The series was far more imaginative than expected, introducing new elements that weren't present in the original film, such as the Skull Cowboy and the first female crow. It strayed from the gritty urban revenge thriller tone of the original, but embraced a dreamlike, surreal atmosphere that aligned with the comic's ethereal qualities. Although Stairway to Heaven was canceled after one season, its critical acclaim and loyal fanbase suggested that there was more to explore in the Crow universe, albeit in a different form than fans were used to. Despite the show's cancellation due to a corporate merger, many fans of the series considered Stairway to Heaven a fitting homage to the Crow mythology, even if it wasn't quite the same as the film. It offered an interpretation of Eric Draven's story that was uniquely suited to the TV format, making it clear that a successful Crow reboot didn't necessarily need to follow the original film's exact blueprint. The struggles of the Crow sequels. While the TV series made a valiant attempt at reviving The Crow's legacy, the franchise's film sequels were met with more mixed to negative reviews. The first of these, The Crow, City of Angels, 1996, followed a new character named Ash, who seeks vengeance after the death of his family. Although the film was a box office success, it failed to capture the magic of the original, and subsequent films like The Crow, Salvation, 2000, and The Crow, Wicked Prayer, 2005, continued to fall short, lacking the same cultural impact or critical acclaim as the first film. These sequels may have kept the series alive, but none could replicate the unique combination of gothic atmosphere, tragic romance, and vengeance that Brandon Lee's portrayal of Eric Draven brought to the screen. Each attempt to continue the story seemed to dilute the essence of what made the original Crow so compelling. However, these films also proved that there was still some market interest in the property, paving the way for future reboots. The 2024 remake, a hoped-for resurrection. When news broke that a 2024 Crow remake was in the works, hopes were high that this new version could finally do justice to the original while breathing fresh air into the franchise. Bill Skarsgård, best known for his role as Pennywise in it, was cast as the new Eric Draven. But despite its star power, the 2024 Crow was a disaster. It struggled at the box office and received harsh critiques, mainly due to its lack of emotional investment in the core relationship between Draven and Shelley, and its slow pace that failed to deliver the intense, action-packed revenge story fans expected. The remake had the unfortunate challenge of living up to the mythos of the original Crow, which was forever intertwined with Brandon Lee's tragic death. Fans were understandably skeptical about a reboot that could never fully replace the iconic nature of the original film, but the 2024 remake didn't do enough to carve out its own identity. Ultimately, its failure served as a harsh reminder of how difficult it is to revive such a powerful and tragic story. What The Crow, Stairway to Heaven can teach us about reboots. If anything, The Crow, Stairway to Heaven demonstrated that a remake or reboot doesn't have to replicate the original to be successful. By diverging from the original film's path and expanding the mythology in new directions, Stairway to Heaven created its own legacy. Its supernatural elements, creative storytelling, and willingness to explore the moral gray areas of justice and vengeance provided a fresh lens through which to view Eric Draven's story. The 2024 Crow remake failed because it tried to replicate the original rather than reinvent it, while Stairway to Heaven succeeded by doing just that. The truth about reboots is that they often don't need to rehash the same old ground but should instead seek to explore new angles, as was the case with a TV series. Had the 2024 remake followed this approach, it might have offered a more compelling reason to reboot the Crow saga. Conclusion. While the 2024 remake of The Crow has failed to live up to expectations, it's important to recognize that this isn't the first time the franchise has attempted a revival. From sequels to TV remakes, the Crow series has seen multiple reboots over the years, each trying to capture the lightning in a bottle of the original film. The Crow, Stairway to Heaven remains the most successful attempt to reinvent the story, showing that sometimes a fresh approach to a beloved franchise is the best way forward. As for the 2024 film, it's likely that this iteration of The Crow will not spawn the successful revival fans had hoped for. However, the franchise's ability to inspire reinvention in various forms means that the Crow saga may not be finished just yet. Despite the missteps, there's still hope that one day, someone will find the right way to carry on Eric Draven's story, and this time, it might even soar.